my new friend Leela Muse,
Mhm.
who just shift about 6 months ago, and I somehow one of my friends posted one of your videos, and I watched. It's like, wow, look at this, and it's just a treat where we get to explore together and say hi.
Mhm. It's such an honor to be here with you, Sid. I love your open-heartedness and gentleness and your specific flavor of
Mm.
expression.
Isn't that isn't that a treat in this as we get to know, as we explore the beingness or just the aliveness and the expression of all of this and how to enjoy the ways it expresses through each of us.
Yes. Yeah, I was just noticing that earlier. I've spent most of my life being afraid of people, and I never had the opportunity to fall in love with them until recently.
Mhm.
Um, Compassion seemed to arise when it was seen that this is impersonal, you know? So when it's not personal and there's not a claiming mechanism that everything is mine, right? Then you can love it for exactly what it is. And and then there's like a wonder and an awe of each person and their expression and their beauty and their personality. And um, yeah, it's like having fresh eyes. It's all innocence.
All innocence. It's gotten to be here a little bit where, and I get this from Byron Katie
Mhm.
when she speaks of, and she says it really strong. She says if you're not seeing perfection, you're insane. And it's like, whoa. And
Yeah.
I can't go there, but for me, it's different. It's more like if I'm missing out on the kind of the innocence, the beauty of the person that's in front of me, then it becomes really interesting to see what's blocking that. It's clearly it's something here that's
Yeah.
blocking it, and that becomes really fascinating.
Yeah. I love Byron Katie and I love, her boldness. She I love how she talks about the insanity of it all and it really is, but it's also innocence. Um all the different ways of seeing reality, however it arises. Even if you're not seeing the beauty and the innocence. Um which can happen to anyone at any moment, anything can happen, and that too is innocent, even if it's not preferred.
Tricky, isn't it? That's where I was leading a group this morning, and people were finding shame in the sense of I'm not good enough, there's something that's off here, or I'm not lovable, and we were playing with that edge of, can you find out, can that be okay that that's there?
Yeah. Shame has been sort of a theme for this life, you know. And I was raised fundamentalist Baptist Christian, and uh, even in our society, if you're not raised in a Christian community, you're still treated. You're told you do this, you don't do that, and you're treated as if you're an agent of that you're responsible. As soon as you learn language, which is innocent, and there's no perpetrators, but it's just that conditioning can have a heavy weight on an innocent child, and it can turn into shame very easily, and it can be sort of like your sidekick, me and shame. And it like you're it's like a hiding the weakness or whatever it is that we identify with. For me, it was weakness. I felt um I labeled myself as mentally ill because of the depression and anxiety. And I looked around and I thought everybody else was happy and different and stronger or whatever it was, the stories we tell. And it's just an innocent survival mechanism. Of course it would be this way. Yeah.
And when you speak with someone, when you see someone that is kind of in the place that you were 10 years ago, perhaps with the sense of the shame
Mhm.
and believing that sense of wrongness. How do you help them, Leela? What does kindness look like from you?
I would probably tell them my story. Um, I would probably get gritty with it and tell them all the ugly details so that they didn't feel alone.
Mhm.
And I would probably tell them how natural it is. And, if it wasn't you and it was some other innocent child, wouldn't you have compassion for them and want them not to have shame that they have shame, right? The extra layer of shame for having shame. And I would just probably tell them that it's understandable completely and it's natural and see if they could see that right now that that's just a thought and it's not actually real. Yeah, it's just a thought believed. And without that thought believed, uh it's just this, you know, what's appearing.
And how do in my internal family systems language, we use the word self for this beingness, for this intrinsic causeless okayness, peace, love, and fulfillment as our nature. And a lot of the game is to help people get a deeper taste of it and get to know it more and a sense of resting. They call it past, call it abiding there. How do you help, just like what you were saying, how do you help people get a deeper taste of it? Or even get a sense of that it's here, that it's here. They don't have to do anything for it to be here.
Yeah. You know, we find ourselves resonating with people and expressions and certain content and things like that. And we sort of naturally just move towards those things and find people that we resonate with. Um, Someone who isn't open to maybe question their thoughts, or they're not open to moving past the shame even for a moment. Um, may not could help that them, So um sometimes it's good to just see the perfection of where someone is, where they are right now. Um I couldn't make the shame go away. I couldn't make myself love myself. No matter how hard I wanted to, no matter how hard I tried to understand. It just naturally, effortlessly worked itself out, and
Mm,
um yeah, it's you can't really make someone um move past something like that. Sometimes
right.
um we're comforted by our stories and um it's the known. It's what we're used to, and stepping past that or looking past that in any way is the unknown. So even though it
Right.
may be less suffering or it may be more compassion, we don't know that, so we don't always want to go there.
Mm. When you say that, sometimes it's just seeing them as the perfection, seeing the beauty that they are. It's so nice because I know that in my life, it was my grandfather saw me that way. whenever I was there, he's just like, "Oh, tell me everything." And it didn't matter if it was just like, "Oh my God, I had the worst experience. I failed this class. I did." It's just, "Oh, great. Tell me more." It was always just fascination with what's here, and there was never a problem. And we see your name right there, Leela. I love that's one of my the dance of Leela. It's like this, just seeing the beauty and the love and the flow of what is. And it's
Mhm.
even if someone is contracted and fearful, they've had horrible things happen, with some of our friends have horrible, horrible things have happened in their lives. And it's just very natural that they close down and they're careful and protective. And just this sense of like, tell me about that. Like just seeing them, just accepting them, loving them just the way they are without some idea that they'd be better off, oh, if they changed or if they did this or that.
No, that's just a story that anyone should be any other way than what they are. Um, what's happening is it is how it is in the moment, and I think honesty is a very powerful tool. Just to say, I feel bad, I feel shame, I'm scared, or whatever it is. I'm frustrated. Sometimes that's the best thing you can do is just say, yes, I am, and I don't know what to do. And that's very
Mm,
empowering when you can do that instead of repressing, you know, or denying.
mm, mhm. What would you, because, who knows if we'll share this video or not. And maybe if we do, I'll share it with my friends, people come in. It's like, what would, what's interesting for you right now? Like, I just watched that amazing YouTube about
Mhm.
beliefs. And I found it fascinating, and it was lots of really edges that I had to sit with that. And but what's interesting for Leela right now? I mean, this whole shift, it just happened 6 months ago, this opening that happened as you were sharing with me. What's interesting for you right now?
Oh, that's such a sweet question. Yeah, I'm kind of a nerd about the language of describing the indescribable. And when you tell somebody that no one's here and nothing's happening and nothing exists, they're gonna be like, "What? Where'd you get that from?" And hearing that over and over doesn't make it more clear. You know, you just feel like you're not getting it when somebody else has it, right?
Mhm,
So I just want to break down what we mean when we say self in the non-dual world, which I know you use it differently, like capital letter S. Um, I just want to demystify. It can't be conceived and it can't be spoken, but it's still fun to try. Yeah. And I like to try to put it in a poetic way too. And um, yeah, it's ironic trying to describe the indescribable, but it's just so fun. It's like a game. It's joyful and it's my passion. And yeah, whoever will resonate will resonate. So, mm.
mm.
What about you, Sid?
It has the same spirit. For me, it's about having this be ordinary. You know, I've recently I've been expressing it through kind of a psychotherapeutic model.
Mm.
Before then, I spent years kind of meditating and being with different spiritual paths with this. And what's so interesting for me now is like neither of those. It's just the ordinariness of this.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, and it becomes like a celebrating. It's so interesting because we think of the spiritual, and I love what you said in that the role of beliefs. YouTube, you said, and then there's then it was like the drugs, a handful of drugs, which are this kind of the spiritual path, spiritual skillful means, and to try to change things, try to get something, try to. Oh, wow, I'm going to a spiritual place now. Wow, there's openness, there's bliss, there's connectedness. I'm interested in where this is there's no spiritual and not spiritual. It's this the just the our humanity, the six human experience. This now, or in your words, what is? It's all. It's just it's this, and even that. And I think it kind of touches that dance of your name, the Leela. I'm interested in that. I'm interested in, and then it's about. I'm really playing with my colleagues and friends about this, about how I do this like parts dance part. Hey, could we do this instead of sitting and meditating? Could it be dancing? Could we find it through dance? And it's like that's all really interesting for me. And I also have this idea that like one, I think you and I talked about like learning sports. We're not, it wasn't easy, but you loved it. And I can do crazy things with balls. It's like, how do you
Yeah,
do that? And it's like,
absolutely.
and it's like, I don't think this is any more complicated. Discerning, discerning this, just whatever that discernment is of beingness, of self, of nature from thoughts, feelings, and sensations. So I'm interested in that. I'm interested in supporting others and collaborating and playing with how do we make this more just ordinary and accessible to all of anyone who's suffering, right? Because it's a suffering that's optional, and to see it as optional, and then what's the easiest way for each of us with however we are living our lives, what language works for us that can help us find, just like shooting the basketball, the learning to do that. And that's what I'm interested in.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's the seeking process. It's a beautiful dance, and it's an energetic movement from what we resonate with, and it feels very energetic. Um, and it's all already this, where we think we're getting to a place, like somewhere in the future we're gonna become something that's our ideal self. We're gonna reach a place of no suffering, or we'll be less neurotic, we'll be unconditionally loving and wise, and all these ideas, that we pick up along the way. And it's it's not like what we think it is,
Mhm.
it is very ordinary, and it's the perfection of exactly what is right now as it appears. um it's falling in love with the ordinary humanness, which we don't necessarily suspect when we're seeking, because we want something better, something that we can imagine, like innocent children, playing pretend. We're reaching for something and we don't know what it is, and it's here. It's always been here. It's this miraculousness of this aliveness. How is this here? How are we able to be two
Mhm.
people having a conversation? This is the miracle, however it appears. And it's not always pretty, you know. Um, we didn't get to where we are as a human species by finding what we wanted. We got here by striving, you know, to be better, and it makes us the beautiful, innocent creatures that we are. Mhm. Even the
Me.
seeking is perfection.
Oh, yes. And then not always pretty.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's where I have a lot of my friends, a lot of, and me gets confused. And again, it looks more like, oh, it looks a certain way. And it's just even the certain state associated with it. Like, oh, if I'm tired and grumpy, that's not it.
Right. I mean, that happens to all of us. I mean, if you're tired or sick, you're in an overwhelming situation or something like that, your body is naturally going to react. And the conditioning may come up of, how do I navigate and get out of this? Or how do I feel better, you know? Um, there's nothing wrong with any of it. It's so intelligent
Mm,
how all of this is effortless and it knows what to do, you know, and um, there is no evidence that we shouldn't be suffering. It is happening. So when it does, so that's
mm.
evidence that it should be happening, right? When it does.
You've
I think
talked to me,
Byron
you've
Katie
mentioned
said something about that.
it. Well, we have friends in common with Byron Katie, and
Mhm,
you've mentioned Eckhart Tolle seems to come up
mhm.
in conversations for you. I think Muji and um, this- how is that? How is because Eckhart Tolle was one of the earlier influences for you, right?
Yes. At the very, very beginning of the seeking journey for me, which was about 6 years ago, but really it was way before that because I sought in substances and trying to find some psychological solution to my problems and taking medicine and things like that. Um,
Was that helpful? Did you get glimpses?
it was a little, it did help, you know, telling myself that, okay, I have a chemical imbalance or something, you know, and it's not my fault. I didn't choose to be born with this or, you know, and sort of just having that little bit of acceptance really, really helped when I was younger. And I guess that was the beginning of um, what we call the journey, I guess. But
Mm.
yeah, I moved through lots of different teachers. I had a very ADD brain, and I would absorb it and then move on to the next. And I moved a lot like that from teacher to teacher, and um, yeah, it was all effortless.
What would the teacher? What would you get from be it Eckhart, Byron Katie, Muji, others? What in the role of the teacher? What were they helping you with? What was happening for you?
um, well, it was the beginning of seeing that I'm not my thoughts, you know, which was profound, but it doesn't make the identification with the thoughts necessarily go away just because you read a book, right? um, and you know, we can take any teaching, and this is what we naturally do most of the time. We can take a teaching and mold it into this conceptual framework, and it's sort of like a handhold, and we comfort ourselves with it. We tell ourselves, I understand. I can take this and use it to better myself, you know. Um, which is eventually seen to be futile, you know. Um, and
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 how do
as
you
I say,
contrast that with the the shift of not believing my thoughts, which you say like they're all saying that, but it's easier to hear that than to actually get that clarity and have that be internalized and embodied.
yeah, there can be an idea of not being my thoughts and sort of a striving feeling of trying to get that, you know. Um, but we're not our thoughts already. See what I mean? So it doesn't matter what thoughts of identification and what so-called contraction or emotions or energy or believing thoughts, believing energy, it doesn't make us our thoughts. It doesn't matter how it feels or how it seems. We're never our thoughts.
So that one, Leela, that we're not our thoughts already. We're already not our thoughts.
Hmm.
Someone's listening to this and they're like, "What are you talking about? How would you help?" Well, could you say that a different way or say it again or something to
Mhm.
help? How would you make help people make sense of that? Not your thoughts.
So we talk about this ideal state called enlightenment or awakening or whatever we want to call it. And we have this convoluted belief system around what it is and what it's going to give me and how I'm going to get it, and a million different ideas and beliefs. But if we were going to use the word enlightenment, we could say that it isn't for anyone. It is already. So it's not that anyone becomes enlightened, there's just beliefs and an energy of believing the thoughts as if they're reality, that creates sort of a fog where we can't see that this is it, right? This is it. That whatever is happening, and no amount of conceptualizing another scenario is going to make it that scenario. It it is what it is, and it actually can be no other way than it is right in this moment. Not that anything could happen
Yes.
in the future, but there's no changing this, and this is all there is. This immediacy now.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's very fleeting. It comes and goes and is constantly shifting. Um, I don't know if that clarified anything, but
That was beautiful, beautiful. I got a question for you about what I a line that comes up a lot for people that I work with. It's almost where they're finding fulfillment in finding, seeking happiness and fulfillment through experience, or as they begin to find it more and more from beingness, from their nature, from the absence of lack that's here. How do you speak of that? How do you speak of that as far as the almost like the end of the seeking out there? Because as we start recognizing, or even just the sense of, hey, I'm going to go out with my girlfriend, or I'm going to go get a pizza or an ice cream, and believing that that's going to give me something. Oh, I'm having a meaningful, great day today, but then something seems to shift. Speak of the meaning and fulfillment is just intrinsic in this nature. Does that translate into how it is for you?
um, you know, there was a there was a moment of utter futility that I experienced 6 months ago. And I could describe it as helplessness because I felt like I had tried everything. I'd hit a wall, and it felt like utter doubt, and I said, I can't do this. I cannot become this thing that I imagined that I can become. And I heard myself finally say it. I can't do this. And that's what it is. You see that it can be no other way. There is no ghost in the machine that's pulling levers. There is only life. And, that's scary. You know, we want to have control. We want to strategize and manipulate, but there's nothing to step apart from life to manipulate it. You know, this is all a beautiful play and drama that seems very real, when it's conceptualized and projected into the future. Um, when what clarity is actually very, very simple. It's it's just this. It's the sensations, the sounds, the light coming in your eyes. Um, whatever emotions arise that may not be preferred, or thoughts that may feel a little sticky. Um, anything can still happen here. There's a myth that so-called awake people, whatever that is, will have no thoughts, or they'll never feel uh, dense emotions. It can become much lighter, but anything can happen, and I think the standards that we hold really do not do us justice. We can become kind of stuck there, um, and the ideals that we have, and it's simply seeing that that's a fantasy. All of that is a fantasy, and we don't, necessarily want to hear that. We want to play and imagine like little kids and believe in Santa Claus
Mhm.
and believe in ourselves that we're free agents, you know.
I like this sense, yeah. In there's this some of the facilitators use the word simultaneous awareness. It's almost the sense of, and some will describe, well, there's this awareness in the sense of abiding as beingness, and there's also, I call it aliveness in the sense of some people will call it timelessness in time, and like the timelessness of just this essence and resting there, and then being in time is like, hey, it's Sid, he's 57, he's this man living in Memphis right now, and it's the it's interesting. It's the both, and maybe a little different than some of the radical non-dualist friends of ours, in that I've been more meeting people there and more exploring that. It's like the full celebration of this. Like just what you say, the suffering, all of it gets to be included. But it
Yes.
like we don't want to blank it all out just to the
Oh, no,
screen, to
no.
that, it's like the fullness of, I mean,
Yes.
I love this life. I love all my, visiting my parents and doing this and all of this stuff. It's great. I don't
Mhm.
want to miss that.
Yeah. This is already all inclusive. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with stories. We actually can't escape them. They always arise when they want to. Stories aren't bad, thoughts aren't bad. Um, and yeah, it can sound like when we talk about it and we try to speak more radically or in whatever style comes out, it it naturally can be grasped onto, and there can be a wanting and a desire and a I must understand, and it's made into this thing that is um, purely innocent and natural, and we play in that until we naturally um, see that it's not giving us whatever this thing is that we imagine that we're moving towards or becoming, you know.
Mhm.
Um, but it's never not what it is, and it's never it's all inclusive, and it's the identification with it that I am confused, you know.
Mhm. Uh-huh.
Um,
That goes back to the believing the thoughts, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I love IFS, and I love watching your videos, and I love self-inquiry, I love questioning thoughts, and just a simple question, is that true? And you can sit with a question and really, really ask, is that true? And if you can get to a point to where you see, no, it's not. It never is actually. It has nothing to do with what's actual. It's an expression, an innocent expression. You know, uh, the mind is supposed to be practical. It's supposed to help us pay the bills and do our taxes and plan a birthday party, you know, or hunt, or all the things, the beautiful things that people do. But it can become neurotic, where we're searching for something that doesn't exist. Ideals
That's
aren't
right.
aren't real. Not right now, they're not, you
Mhm.
know. Mm.
We just don't. I didn't have a context for this. It's like the idea of like stress and anxiety. Well, that's normal. Everybody has that. That's
It
what you're
is.
supposed to have. And then, start having sleeping problems. Oh, that's normal when you get to be 40 years old. And, and it's just,
Mhm.
but it's not.
Nobody
Just,
wants to suffer, beautifully.
Yeah, I like the simplicity of, what you just in bringing it to the belief. The question, is it true?
Yeah.
Believing our thoughts.
Yeah.
It's such a clean, clear way.
And, belief thoughts can always arise. They can be more or less sticky, they can feel
Mhm.
like this is mine, you know, that identification with it. When we have a pile of money that's ours, it feels different than a pile of money that's somebody else's, right? And that's the difference. We believe that we are the thinker, the doer, the feeler, um, the agent, and the responsible one. And that's perfect just as it is, how it arises when it
Mhm.
does. It doesn't feel nice. So it's understandable and beautiful when we strive and try to get out of it, and use the only tool we have, which is mind, to escape.
Mm.
But it doesn't make it not perfect. It doesn't make it not part of this perfection. Perfectly imperfect.
Mine is my way is more, like you say, it's no different. But you say it includes everything, and I think I focus more on the both and of the clarity and the sweetness in belief. In There's a sweetness in believing all of that, and we call it the parts in IFF, these
Mhm.
different aspects of the personality, and letting up and just having that be fully alive and fully in this experience, fully in the Leela, fully, fully, fully in the dance of the Leela, yet
Mhm.
with diminished suffering in this, or diminished resistance and diminished lack. Where in Byron Katie's language, she would say, "You only need to inquire when it hurts." Then we get to see that that's what you would say, the inquiring, is it true? And to see through the lack, the resistance, the wanting, the shame, whatever's there.
Yeah.
I'm still exploring edges of all this and making
Mhm.
sense of it, and as since we talked 2 weeks ago or whatever, it all keeps evolving, as I know it does for you too, and the
Mhm.
richness of this, and it's
Yeah, there's no right way.
fun.
The right way is this, what's happening now. That's how you know it's the right way, because it's
Yeah.
happening. It could be anything. It could all it's this is everything. This is all inclusive. And when even the striving feeling of getting somewhere is beautiful. You know, um inquiry, meditation, I had a blast doing all that stuff, you know.
Mm.
I would never tell someone that they don't need to practice or listen to a teacher that they resonate with because I don't, or, anything like that. Um,
It's
yeah.
you know, it's tricky for me, and I forgot in my effortless IFS, this idea is presented as we're working on 3 levels simultaneously, and the 3rd level is the sense of, "Dorothy, you don't need to follow the yellow brick road. Home is here. You are
Mm,
complete, you are fulfilled, you are okay. You
yeah.
are this intrinsic love and fulfillment," and there's that. And then we go to the 1st level, which is just life and time and life and experience, and the contractions that come, and all of the welcoming and
Mm,
inquiring into, or healing,
mhm,
or doing the little Advaita, neti neti, or all of our
mhm.
little practices that help us get to know the clarity of beingness, and the welcome, the contraction, and allow healing to happen in our system. All that play occurs, and it's really tricky for me to do. It's like the both and
Oh, yeah,
that's
yeah.
where, it's tricky, because that's what I found. That's what I adore about Katie and some of our other people who have inspired me along the way,
Mhm.
in that they were. the ones that were able to just see that. And you could feel it when you were seen as there's nothing that needs to change here. There's nothing that's off that needs to mature. It's just seeing the perfection of what is, and then also supporting the same time with whatever clearing, clarity, healing that's occurring. And
Mhm.
how are you doing with those two? Because I know you're doing these wonderful videos and talking with people. How are you bringing those? What's that like, the two, or is that have they just kind of come together? They're just kind of the same now and all in the flow.
Yeah. Um, it's good to be supportive when it's possible, with whatever arises, whether it be seeking or any sort of practice, um, because it just happens as it happens, and you can't really skip to whatever it is you think you're going to. um, some non-duality speakers speak about practice as if it's wrong. It comes across that way, you know, and I don't feel that way at all. This is all inclusive of all, and it is very, very paradoxical. It's the paradox is the inconceivability. It is both, you know, and the stories and uh, the the apparent person doesn't magically disappear one day. It we
Mhm.
everything is conceptualized. That doesn't go away. Um, we just see that the concepts aren't necessarily true. They're expressions like a child's painting. You know, it's meaningless. And games are meaningless, right? Nobody plays a game to get anywhere. And that's what this is like. That it's not like that is part of. And you can't really tell somebody that when they feel completely down and, oh no, I think my internet's messing up. I wouldn't tell someone that they don't exist and why are they meditating when they feel depressed and anxious.
Mhm.
No, this too is this, however it appears. So it can be very confusing for somebody who's trying to understand it. You're never going to understand it. I hate to tell you that, but that's not the
I got
point.
like what you're
Yeah.
describing. I got a glimpse of it in my 20s and working in a when I was teaching conflict resolution in schools and at a kindergarten. I think I told you this, and I'm in a playground, and all I can see is innocence with the kids, right? And it's like, but then it's what happens? Why do I when I go into the third grade or go into high school, I can't see the same thing? And I think we all know this. We've all seen, kids, perhaps kids or puppies or the
Mhm.
sunset in nature. We get to see the beauty and innocence, and we all know it. And then what fascinated me then is like what would happen when I would go from the kindergarten to a third grade playground and I couldn't see it anymore. It was just like, whoa, that is so sad because I was working with teachers, and I wanted to be able to offer this to help them be able to see the innocence in the kids and be able, and it's like I couldn't do it. I lost it then, and that's been the game, and you see it, but yours is you see it more than Sid does. And it's beautiful, like the seeing that in everyone and everything, and that's definitely been part of the ambition here. Does that
Yeah.
resonate, translate into
Well,
Leela land?
it's important to say sometimes that seeing innocence and beauty doesn't mean you let other people run over you. If you're in a
Right.
toxic situation, yes, that's innocent and hurt people, obviously. But that doesn't mean you have to expose yourself to it. Um, I just wanted to say that because, sometimes we can get the wrong idea, but
Right. Oh, you're just this little hippy dippy person. Everything's beautiful. You live on the clouds, and right.
right. Um, I wanted to be like a sage and a saint and, like Mother Teresa and just love myself and love everybody. And, I had it was like a little kid imagining like I'm fantasizing about love and, it's
Oh.
like I knew there was something there or something
Has it
here.
been super disappointing? It's like, gosh, I'm not that. I'm not this radiant goddess of light, Mother Teresa reincarnated in Mississippi.
It's so much better than I imagined in a way, and it is very, very disappointing too. It can be, it depends on who you are, but there was a little disappointment because nothing changes. Nothing actually changes.
Mm,
It's just a shift in perspective that is impersonal, and because it's impersonal, it is seen as pure innocence, like a cat or a dog or a toddler or someone who's hurt, you know, you can love and have compassion and empathy. Most of us can for things that are not ours, that are hurt, and like children and animals. But we can't find that here a lot of the time. And
yeah.
it's just that I must be better, that's been drilled into our head since we were little, it's deep in our nervous system, and it's not gonna go away when you want it to go away, and even when it so-called goes away, it still is there. Like, it's just a perspective shift. So you get to love all the grittiness and all the messiness, and yeah, it's loving the imperfection.
So but to love all the grittiness and the messiness and the imperfection, you say it kind of very quickly in one sentence, but in a way, I mean, that can be the whole journey for some people. There's a lot there.
Yeah, no, I remember what it felt like to want that so bad, just to have love or whatever, just to have compassion for myself, self-love. There's all kinds of teachings out there. Just love yourself, as if that's something you can do, right?
Mm,
No amount of wanting that made that um, happen. But, one thing Adyashanti said was, what is it that is keeping you from seeing what's obvious, right? That's here now. The innocence has always been here, Um, it's palpable. It's all there is. And um it doesn't it doesn't need to be seen for it to be what it is already, you know. Um we want it for us. We want to see it for me so I can have it, so I can have this for me, But it's really not about me, and it is very paradoxical. And that's why I'm a bit of a nerd about the language, because I want to try to describe it in a way that isn't misleading, but people are going to be misled. I distorted all kinds of teachings in my head. Anything can be hijacked by the mind, uh, naturally and innocently. Um, yeah, I would just tell people, you may not see it, but I see it. You are beautiful and you are perfectly okay, even when you're not okay. You may not
mhm.
feel like it, but that is understandable. Of course, feel it. Feel the pain, feel the frustration, just feel the hell out of it. Feel it all the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's tricky, right? Because we notice work with a lot of people, and right, if we could just there are different languages for feel it or surrender it or be with it, but it's like if we could just we could just feel all that's here, right, and feel through it, but then contractions comes, resistance comes, no comes, it's not safe, I can't do that. And that seems I just know that so well in my own system of being kind of stuck there and
Oh
going in
yeah,
circles
definitely.
and,
Yes.
hearing Muji and Rupert and Eckert and all these folks, and it's just like, "Yes, yes, feel the resonance," but then there'd be, "No, no, 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 no."
Yeah. Um, we can offer different perspectives to somebody who's suffering and in pain. Um, I think the seeing them perfectly where they are, I mean, it doesn't feel good to suffer. It doesn't. And,
Mm,
we have compassion and we want to help. Helping and perspective shifts happen when they do, Um, and it is very tricky. And um, yeah, it's a wild, dramatic roller coaster ride. Um,
mm,
but there is nothing telling us that it should be another way except for a delusional thought that is believed. Without that thought, it's full on anxiety, and that's all. And without the label anxiety, it's actually an exhilarating, energetic feeling in the body, you know? And just being reminded of that, sort of can cause someone to just see it, and then they may forget and just because it's so deeply conditioned, you know, in us to believe our stories. Um, yeah.
was struck recently, one of these facilitators, Modama, shared that it was really more about kind of the belief in the future of something better. We have whatever's here, and then there's like a no to it because there's this idea, oh, something can be better.
Mhm.
And that seems to be like I've been fascinated by what holds the past, especially difficulties that we've had in the past, right? It's like it would both to be
Mhm.
fully present with what is now and especially, you and I encounter people that have had difficult paths, difficult stories, and something holds it. Otherwise, we'd just be in this river, this flow. And I'm fascinated by that. And it seems to be some kind of belief that,
Mhm.
when we say it shouldn't have happened, we said it shouldn't have happened or it was horrible. There was a sense of it could have been better. Something my life would be better if. And it's that sense of the belief. It's back to belief, but in the future and wanting something to be different than what is seems to take me away from just being here and even and letting it digest, like when you say fully feel it,
Mhm.
fully there, and then there it is. That's what the experience is. It is suffering, it's contraction, it's God. Some of these people beat me up, it's that, and that was the experience. That's what happened. That's what is. I'm
Mhm.
interested in that, and I feel like I'm still on the surface of it as far as what can really be revealed when I hear, you know, our friends like, Katie or Eckerd speaking about it. They're so clear, and it's not
Mhm.
it's not that clear here yet, um,
Mhm.
about those things. Where do
Well,
you where do you go?
well, one of the thoughts, well, they all do. They lose their stickiness, and that's what I because this, it's very hard to describe, but I describe it right now as belief, the energy of belief or the stickiness, because a meaningless thought can come and drop and it's gone and you don't even remember it because it wasn't interesting, you didn't believe it basically. Um, but even the thought that I'm not as clear or one day I will be uh, clear, or does this mean that, I've arrived, or anything like that. Those are the ones that we cherish and love, and we have fun with those thoughts, and it's a fun journey, and those eventually are seen to be empty and having nothing to do with what is. Um, that doesn't make them wrong. They're never wrong. Um, they're very free and innocent and spontaneous um, and beautiful. Um, I always like to say that it isn't wrong, because it isn't. That those are the things that fall away, the ideas of right and wrong, or should and shouldn't. Um, they become like an old nursery rhyme that we heard before, and we were like, oh,
Mhm.
and we were just so fascinated with it. All the concepts and the belief in the should and should not, and um, those are slowly seen. Well, at least it was for here. It was slowly, sort of gradually, um, like walking into the water slowly and acclimating to it. Um, seem to be meaningless, you know. And it's a great relief, because you don't have to analyze, you don't have to know. You already don't know, you know. Um, we know practical things like how to get to the grocery store and, how to build a bridge. But
Yes.
that's not, we think that we put that tool on a pedestal and we think we can use it to do anything, but it has its limits. And we sometimes find out what those limits are.
Oh, we do. Yeah, I love when Rupert Spira speaks about the limits. Like we try everything for happiness, for in the world, all these different ways. And then he says the people who end up coming to sit with him have kind of like they failed. Like they've done
Yeah.
everything and it's just like it's not working. Even if I got the car, the family, the house, the vacations, the jet, or the whatever it looks like, whatever that looks like it's not giving it to them. Or even the creative expression, or the like I got the perfect career. We try all these things, or it's like, hey, I can jump off a mountain. This the adrenaline, it's like it's not giving, and then they end up coming to look at where fulfillment, where happiness, where peace, where this lies, where it is, and so that's it's all really interesting. It's
Yeah,
yeah.
a way to describe it is the last place you want to look. Yeah. And it can very much have the flavor of failure. It feels like losing the game,
Mhm.
which is ironically, um, it gets to a point where it's tricky to talk about, because it's so paradoxical, and that it doesn't matter what you say, it's going to be taken the wrong way, um, by others. And it could potentially be, because nobody's going to stop you from being confused when that's what's happening. When there's a momentum of the mind grasping, and which isn't wrong. It can feel wrong, and there can be beliefs that it's wrong, but the claiming and the grasping and the averting, it's trying to grasp in this free fall, the free fall of the fleeting nature of this. Even what I just said is gone. It'll never happen again. You know what I mean? Um, and we think that we can stop time and draw moments out with concepts. We think we can escape how the body feels because we're fantasizing about something else, and um, we just we see more and more the futility of it all, and
Mhm.
it can be very painful to see that this is all in my head. And that there is no handholds, there's no place to land. It is what it is. and it can be no other way.
It yes, and it has a different it has a little bit different flavor, which I think we probably share this other flavor, right? There's the free fall, the helplessness, and the hopelessness, and what that whatever happens with that, as far as the grasping, not being able to hold on to anything. But
Mm.
then it all seems to be then it's like, I don't know, it feels more full than empty here. It feels more like
Yes.
love and beauty and
Mhm.
just wonder and awe, and it's that. There's not a sense of 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 loss here. It's
Oh,
it's more.
beautiful. Yeah, I did a video recently called How It Seems to Be Now. Just sort of like me talking about my experience right now. And, I talked in regular language, which I usually do, saying me and my, and just, how we talk. And I talked about, I described the emptiness and the meaninglessness in the beginning and how it's sort of like there's a clean slate. It's just like there's sort of an awe of like how empty and meaningless it all is, and that can have a visceral effect on the body. You can feel free fall, those
Mm,
moments of visceral terror that are physical. And then it's like it seems to me, this is a story, but it seems like after the emptiness is experienced, then the fullness rushes in. And what the fullness is what it has always been. It's the smells and the sounds and the beautiful images of the trees and the grass and the sky and just all the things that we overlook that are miraculous. And there's moments of awe. There's more moments of awe and just being struck by something so simple and falling in love with people because
mm,
of their beauty and how different each one is. And they're so beautiful even if they're broken. It's just, yes, there's a fullness.
the broken, I would just have to say, I can't even if I when I do my groups, the game is to find that nothing human is foreign to us, as each one shares, to find it in us. And so
Hmm.
even when we describe the brokenness, it's like, yeah, that's all here too. It's just there's nothing.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's I love that aspect of it. The homeless person, all of this, like finding it all in this experience and finding an intimacy with it all. Like
Yeah.
that's the yumminess. It's like I that's the yummy window of this that ends up connecting me so much deeper with my humanity and then the connected humanity of it all. And that's my adventure in this, is that how intimate can I be in this humanity with
Hmm. Yeah,
that.
totally. Yeah, it's not what was expected. And the falling in love with this human experience, and which can have all kinds of different flavors, and there can be sudden tragedy. Anything can happen, as it always has. This isn't a solution to problems. It's just seeing how it is, you know. It's sort of like
Mm,
um, a soberness from the drug of comforting thoughts, when truly we the truth cannot be known. S- Um, the truth is that there is no truth. All truth is relative, and it's playful and
mm,
can be messy. And yeah, we can see all those qualities in each other. We are each other. Life expressing as individuals, but if you can put yourself in somebody else's shoes and say, yeah, I would totally do that in that situation. Probably, yeah. And it's all just innocence expressing, you know, uh, in all these different potentialities.
mm.
Yeah.
innocence expressing in all these different potentialities. That's nice. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes. Called Leela, called Sid, called Sam and Jane. All of it.
Yeah.
What else? Is there anything else with that's kind of bubbling for you as we've been going for
Mhm.
over an hour here? Anything else that's wanting to be like
Oh,
as we whatever this exploration is that we're
yeah.
having, and then
You know,
you know,
I would say if you're um one of the things that I really wanted to express in on my channel is that no matter what you hold as a carrot on a stick in out there somewhere, not here, it's in the future, right?
mhm,
This ideal, whatever it may be. It's most certainly not what you think it is. I can guarantee that. And it isn't you becoming some better idealized version of yourself. It's there's sort of a bravery of being able to look at this without the comforting stories, you know. Um, it isn't right, it isn't wrong. This isn't a better way to be. It's the whole thing makes it so beautiful, you know, the apparent
mm,
process. Um,
mm,
Perfect in all its different forms. You know, I don't do this, I don't talk about this to try to change anybody, you know.
mm,
Of course I would try to comfort somebody if they if I felt like they wanted to be comforted, you know. But it doesn't mean that they're um in a place that they shouldn't be, most certainly not. Um
well, what would you Leela, if we end up sharing this, I'll
Mhm.
kind of put your what would you like to for people to find you? There's the YouTube station that I would put on your link. Do you want to share anything about like what you're doing, where it's going, or just
Oh
inviting
yeah.
people to your station?
Oh, thank you, Sid. And yeah, I just have the Leela Muse YouTube channel, and it's sort of poetic and sort of a narration. I'll write down some words and read it. And it's just a free, spontaneous expression, and I have no idea where it's gonna go. There really isn't any intention. It's just really, really fun and exploring language and stories and communing with others, you know, that resonate.
Mm,
And would it be okay if I shared this on my channel, this video?
absolutely, absolutely. This
Would
is
Sid,
absolutely.
would you like to tell about your channel and your Facebook group and stuff for my viewers?
I'd love to. Thanks for asking. My work is the integrate is called effortless IFS, and it's just the exploration of integrating whatever non-dual understanding is accessible here in all of us with the, the psychological healing, which we call the arising thoughts, feelings, and sensations, which we label as parts. And so I have a website, effortlessifs.com, and then I have lots of like Leela, I'm having the best time doing these YouTubes and especially doing YouTube shorts, which are they're like challenging, aren't they? Like in a minute, you only got a minute. Whoa!
Yeah, yeah.
And so you could Google IFS Sid and shorts, and those will come up. And it's just been it's been so fun. This Leila, this sense of I loved how you talk about the play and the expressiveness of all of this, and there's no way, no knowing where it's going. And it's so fun, like this conversation you and I are having. And I love that we get to have it with all these people, all these different people. Like who knows who watches? Sometimes I mean, you get, oh my God, I look at yours, they got 600 people looking at you, you got 1,000 people seeing some of your videos. Like, isn't that crazy? Thinking
It
about
is.
not knowing who's watching this, who's being touched by it, and or who thinks,
Mhm.
God, that's the silliest thing I've ever seen, you know, but
Mhm, yeah.
it's just all kind of fun.